What's happening, podcast fans? Welcome back to Stories from the River. This is your host, Charlie Malouf. I'm happy to be with you guys again for the fourth and final episode, recapping our GMRX. Monthly budgets explained was the topic of this presentation, the way we play the game, our version of the great game of business. So if you haven't listened to the entire presentation, we broke it up into three parts. You can go back and do that now. We'll put links here in the show notes to the episodes 1, 2, and 3. And this is the fourth episode in this mini-series, which is really the Q&A. We had some of our retail leaders and general managers ask some questions after the presentation, and so we're sharing the Q&A portion with you. And I'm sure some of you may have some questions. And happy to be transparent, dialogue with you one-on-one or chat with you. Feel free to shoot me a note. You can leave a comment on the pod on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or you can hit me up on LinkedIn if you want. And we're happy to engage with you. We appreciate all of our fans and followers and subscribers. And hopefully you got a little bit of something out of this presentation that took us through kind of our early years, through our crucible moment of 2015, and how we really developed that muscle and that discipline of planning, forecasting, and the rigor of budgeting. This is about the mutual prosperity, how we got to mutual prosperity and the spirit of abundance. I really shared that microcosm of that story with the story of Dash. And so I think that's a great microcosm story that I showed in the third part of this series. And so, again, if you look at, I shared this with our team the other day. This is our 2024 financial budget book. I think it's 101, but this one was 63 pages, so not 101. And this is our 2025 annual financial plan, our budget. And this one was, 60 something pages. Sometimes they're over 100 pages. They've got executive notes, really large table of contents, as you can see. And these are the budgets that we're literally going to take to the bank that we want to depend on. So they're going to be more conservative in nature. That helps us cover our fixed expenses, cover our capital expenses, and really make sure that we survive, thrive, stay in the game, and meet our obligations. And then that little bit of extra is that what we think we can do, and that's what funds our retail performance bonuses, our leadership bonuses, and usually that's about a plus 7%. That delta is what we call the lanyard. But it's usually going to be plus or minus 3% off of that 7. So a range of 4 to 10%. So anyways, hope you enjoyed this episode, the Q&A portion of the way we play the game, our version of the great game of business.
Welcome to Stories from the River, a show in which we go behind the scenes at Broad River Retail.
I know I went through a lot quickly, and there's a lot of detail on that, but I wanted to kind of give you, I didn't think I could explain it. Maybe I could have without, it's a long-winded answer, but I thought there might be some benefit to you guys knowing more of the story and the backstory, because the story and the history certainly informs our decision-making today. And we couldn't help otherwise. So also about the care that we give into how we treat it. And so anyways, having said that, no question's a bad question, so please don't be inhibited. Ask me whatever you'd like to ask me. And let's make sure we collect those budget books once we are through those.
I have a question, I have a statement. I'm thankful and blessed to work for a company that looks at this monthly, reevaluates it, and looks at outside forces. And I know that these budgets are set for our best interest as well as the best interest for the company. And it's what it's supposed to be. We're all here for a reason, and to be the best, you have to be the best. And thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that. You guys are crushing it, by the way, at Dreamville. I don't mind saying that, and you guys continue to set the standard and raise. So, continue doing what you're doing. I appreciate your perspective on that. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of hours. It's really important to be fair, and it's probably most important to honor our commitments. When you make commitments, especially if you borrowed money from someone, if you have loans, you have to run a business with commitments and disciplines. So you have to honor your commitments. And by the way, that's the best way you can be fair to others. And so you have to get all the inputs you can and kind of make those best decisions. And we kind of continue to kind of distill down all of our expense modeling. And we've done some extensive work on more bonus modeling so we can better understand any kind of calibration to change, which is actually going to free us to be more creative and innovative, which is really, really exciting. And really, the spirit to be, how can we make it less of a roller coaster when you're doing a good job and not be an infusion of cortisol without losing the drive to kind of hit the budget. Because there is that magic on doing a little bit extra than our bank budget. Now, the thing that allows us to set our bank budget where it is being in business over a long period of time and renegotiating those leases and driving down that occupancy cost over a period of time. I mean, those were bad leases in the upstate, and it took several years to kind of get better stores, better locations with better lease factors. And all those new stores that you saw on the milestone chart did a dollar cost averaging down of our rent, which now allows us to kind of play the game a little bit more freer, but we're not going to lower our standards. So anyways, thank you for saying that.
Cash, you had your hand raised over there?
I'm saying 91 months straight wins, like the good and bad of that. Well, we know we're good, but there had to be a bad in there because, as Stacy was saying, you could win, and then you'll plateau. Was there a plateau? Or was like that COVID the plateau?
I'm trying to understand the question. 91 months in a row of wins. We just kept getting better, Cash. I mean, we kept getting better. I mean, it didn't come at the sacrifice of not growing, not paying off our debt. We did a management buyout in June of 2018. And Manny, Charlie Workman, and I bought 100% of the company at that time. And we took on debt, pushed all of our cash in and did it. And I would tell you that it didn't come at the behest of limiting or throttling down our growth. If I go back to one of the slides that showed our milestone chart, you can see all the number of stores that we've opened or renovated. So if a sign of a company, companies have life stages, startup, toddler, young adult, aging adult, middle age, maturing. And when companies kind of get to this kind of closer to the death phase, maybe they're starting to take cash out of the business. Sorry to use that pun, I just realized that. Or not reinvest cash into the business and throttling down. And that would be a signal to wait. Hey, and I say all that to say, since January of 2018, what that profitability has allowed us to do, really to adopt a fortress balance sheet mindset. That's a quote from Jamie Dimon, to shore up our balance sheet, to get it super healthy. But we pumped $53.3 million in store and distribution center capital expenditures since January 2018. We added $12.2 million in inventory across our showroom and in-stock positions, and we total reinvested back into the business $65.5 million while retiring our senior term loan. And so we just kept marching. Jim Collins has a phrase that we love called these 20-mile marches. And we're still just trying to challenge ourselves to get better, to not rest on yesterday's successes, but to do it in a fair manner. So over the 21 months, I mean, the challenge really would be in the 23 and 24, catching falling knives and not knowing how far the decline would be. Again, we didn't expect it to kind of keep going at this stratospheric growth. 21 and 22 were really, really kind to us, really great years. The drop-off was more precipitous than we thought. Wasn't as bad as others, wasn't as bad as it could have been, but it wasn't as good as it could have been either. Or we didn't budget as soundly as we should have. And so that really put a constraint on how much we were able to kind of maybe invest back into our people and our programs. So really this year is about it's another kind of reset for us. Hey, we got this new 6-year vision to double the company's business from 250 to 500 million, with 250 being the baseline last year. And so to do that, we really got to get off to it. And that's not easy to do. Compounded annual growth rates of double digits, not easy to do. We did it for the last 15 years. However, the numbers were lower. So now we're at bigger numbers, and double-digit percentages not easy to do. So we're going to have to get creative. Non-adjacent markets, might be some acquisitions in there. I didn't go through all the ways we think about growth. You've heard that in Retail 101, et cetera. But we have to hit our numbers. And like, if we came between 247 and 272 and hit 260, maybe the company's still sustaining. Maybe it's okay. Maybe it's above average, pretty good. But I don't want it to be pretty good for the company and not for all of our people. I don't want to rake all the chips. I told this to Stacy one time. I don't want it to be really good for me or for Manny and not to be good for everyone. And I'm not in it just to be average or above average. I don't want to just wake up in 10 years, 5 years, and be comfortable with that, hey, we're a $300 million company. I'm really proud of it, and just rest on all the awards. I'm the wrong CEO for that. That's not how I'm wired, and so I'm not looking for just average. And so that's not how I'm going to run it. That's not how we're going to run it. We're going to challenge ourselves, but not in an unfair manner. I may or may not have answered your question. I have no idea.
I wanted to tag in. I agree with everything that Jeff said, and I have the ultimate faith in you and Manny.
Thank you. We got to earn it every single day. Thank you. We've got a lot of faith in Albemarle Aces right now, too.
What are your thoughts about how budget will be affected by these non-adjacent markets that you're acquiring, like Spokane, and how? Yeah,
to be true, we're actually not acquiring Spokane. It's greenfield for us. There's no other licensee that we're picking up. No, you're okay. I'm a little bit OCD on words, so that's nothing against you. It's more about me. I'm very self-aware of my OCD-ness. It's okay. I'm totally comfortable with it too. I don't think it will have an effect, really, but not to our core stores, our core markets. We're going to treat those the same way, same approach we would any other year. So in other words, do you mean like, hey, let me answer it this way. Spokane is a really good experiment. Because if we can do it and do it well and build it out, it's not just Spokane. We can grow west, east, south. I don't want to grow north into Canada, but we can build another reset nucleus and continue to grow the company. And we need new revenues to spread out over our total labor cost percentage, because our labor as a percentage of revenues has been creeping up. And we need new revenues to afford the labor that we want to grow and continue in the programs that we want to invest in our people. So in that regards, it can help. But let's say it doesn't work. We never wanted that expansion, which is a risk, to muddy our pristine balance sheet. And so we structured it in such a way that we can take some of the land yap and the profits that we've created and said, okay, the best way that we can negotiate a lease with the landlord is if we put our own money in and not theirs, that they'll basically you're buying up the rent. Hey, we'll put our own money in, and then I want an eject button in case it doesn't work, that we can mitigate our losses. And so if it doesn't work, we've lost the money that we've put in there, we can mitigate our losses, and we can eject sooner than a 10-year lease. And instead of a bar that and we would have said, hey, we learned something, and we're not going to do it. If it does work, it really opens up the ability for us to go into open our aperture and our mindset for other non-adjacent markets. So I think it can be something really, really good and challenging for us. I also think our company's ready for it right now. I'll look around. We almost grew into another big market a couple of years ago, and we were almost ready then. Right now, our team is poised and ready. They are chomping at the bits, looking to take on a new challenge, but we're not going to do it where we bet the farm or corrupt the business. So it'll be a risk that we can quarantine and control and cut off if we need to, but it's also one that can lead into a whole lot of beautiful land yap if we let it, or if we do it right and do it well.
That answer your question? Yeah, I mean, I suppose it was slightly, what I maybe meant a little better was this is obviously going to be a big spike in operating costs before you see, the profit roll back in from that.
Yeah. It's got to be a 3-store market before it starts operating at the level. But we'll quarantine that when we look at our financials. It's not going to. We're going to look at that as a standalone entity in terms of its impact, and not let it adversely affect how we would treat our delta, that sort of thing. If that's what you're asking.
Yeah, and by the way, the mothership has to be protected at all costs, and it will be. This is our core business. This is who we are, and that's got to. We can't do all of this other without the mothership being healthy.
I mean, hopefully, Brett, what I've demonstrated is that I'll use a phrase I use a lot. We're not day trading on this business. When we bought the business, it was with no end in sight. It was just our sons just started it. I thought about putting a picture of Drew and James on here. It's really joyful. Like Drew came to the office. He's been working in the warehouse. He came up to me yesterday. He goes, "Hey, Dad, did you come up with that word of the year thing?" I don't know why he was asking, what he was talking about, because he was referencing the banners he saw in the warehouse, and he's kind of taking an interest. And I was watching him work a little bit. He was picking up trash he saw like on the aisle, and he's learning, "Hey, Luke, you want to come down here? I'll show you how to do lane audits." Loved it. So, we're going to run it as if it's a generational business, and in no way, shape, or form are we going to force our kids to do anything they don't want to do. They don't have to be in the business, but it is kind of cool and fun to see. But it just kind of reinforces, like, we want to have a long-term mindset of this. So hopefully you can just trust that we are not going to take a risk. You got to take some risk in life, but we don't take a risk that's going to cause us to collapse or have calamitous harm to the mothership.
All right, 2 more questions. Got Pat, then Jose, and then we'll go grab some lunch. How about that?
Just really quick, I'm going on 4 years, and I never had a clue how the budgets were done monthly. And I really appreciate you spelling it out the way that you did. It was very informative.
Well, hopefully there's no more surprises.
All I worried about was hitting them. That's all I really.
That's great. Love it.
Charlie, I got a quick question. If Jonathan gave you more than a week to become CEO, would you have done it?
Why wouldn't I have?
Good question.
If he gave you 6 months, you said you wanted 6 months. If you saw some of the clarity while you were doing the discovery, would that change your mindset if he gave you more of a runway?
No, because I was already all wet. I was all in, Jose. There was two owners of the company at that time, Jonathan and me. I had nowhere I could go. I mean, I got nowhere I can go right now, by the way. So I'm not open for work on LinkedIn. I'm like, I got a job. I got commitments here. I've signed leases for many years that I have to go honor, Jose.
Charlie, everybody, one more time. Let's give it a hand. Appreciate it.
Okay, that is the full presentation and Q&A portion from Monthly Budgets Explained, how we got here, the way we played the game at Broad River, our version of the great game of business. Really hope you enjoyed this 4-part series, us being transparent. We shared with our retail leaders, and hopefully we can teach that back out and engage with you all. What can we learn from what you're doing, your best practices? Because we've learned along the way. I shared in this presentation about how transformative the performance group was for us during those years. And so we're standing on the shoulders of giants, and we all are in a sense, and just trying to leave it a little bit better than we found it. And so we're gonna bring several more series to you. It's starting next week with the Lighthouse Fund. We've got a 2-part episode recapping an exciting new fund that we just launched to care for our memory makers. It's something that we've really wanted to do, a systematic approach to caring for our memory makers in crisis. Charity begins at home. And so we share the kind of faith-driven aspect of that. And then the launch details and how we kind of went about it. So some really exciting stuff next week on the Lighthouse Fund. And then we get into the following week, episodes 299 and 300, hitting that 300 milestone here in our 4th year at Stories from the River. So it's been a lot of fun. What started as a passion project, we've learned a lot along the way. We really love podcasting. We really love telling the amazing stories of the incredible memory makers and behind the scenes at Broad River Retail. And thank you so much to our listeners and subscribers who engage with us, who listen in. Whether you're checking us out on the video portion on YouTube or Apple or Spotify, we love to hear from you, or LinkedIn, where we show short form video clips. So come back next week, and we try to bring you the freshest new content every Tuesday and Thursday. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll try to continue doing that.
Thanks for listening to Stories from the River. To check out more episodes, visit storiesfromtheriver.com. To watch this episode, go to youtube.com/@storiesfromtheriver. Join us again next week, and remember to like,